Hey there. So, even if you don't hire me, I want you to know that you deserve complete brand ownership. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. So, what does that look like? And excuse me if I'm looking at my notes, I want to make sure I hit everything, every single point. So, what does that look like? Brand ownership, in the sense of what I'm speaking about today, comes in the form of having your source file for your logo or your logos and whatever brand assets that you have a graphic designer built for you. You need to have the source files. And why is this important? Let me just quickly adjust this. This is important because if you take your brand seriously, you know that your brand is going to evolve. Things are going to change. You're going to grow. You're going to get a better perspective of what you need to do for your audience, how your brand needs to be represented out to the masses. And so changes come, and you need to be able to adjust your logo as you see fit or to encompass what those changes may be. And so also, if you take your brand seriously, you know that you want to put your brand assets on everything. I mean, from your marketing, email, physical mail marketing, from t-shirts. I have mine. I even have my mouse pad done. If it's, pillows, blankets, ornaments come Christmas time. If you want to put it on a gift that you're giving to a client, you want to put your brand on absolutely any and everything that you could possibly put it on. And so that requires you to have a certain amount of files. Sometimes they may require, maybe they just need the simple JPEG or the PNG, which is most common for people to receive. Other times they want an EPS file, which is an encapsulated PostScript file. Sometimes they want an SVG, which allows you to, quickly change the colors. Whatever it is that they want, whoever you're printing with or working with, whatever it is that they want, you want to be able to provide them with that. And having the source files give you access to create those additional files that they may need in order to give you whichever marketing material, printing or digital, that is required to fulfill whatever requests you may have, And why else is it important? It's because it's your brand. It's yours. You don't ever want to be in a situation where someone is holding something over your head or you don't have full ownership because, if someone else takes your brand and they say, hey, I'm just leasing it to you for a certain period of time, which it may not make sense, but it could happen. And you want to think of those possibilities. They take your brand and they say, someone else is really interested. They really like, what I created. And, maybe I want to sell it to them. Hey, you don't have ownership of it. They never relinquish that over to you. So they can honestly do whatever they want because it's their artwork, So it's really important that if you're building your brand, you want to make sure that you have that. And we'll talk a little bit more about choosing a graphic designer later on in the video. But these are some of the reasons why it's important, because your brand is going to expand, it's going to grow. You want to put your brand on everything. You don't want to have any limitations placed on you. And because it's your brand, you should own it. Why not? So why don't designers give this away? This is usually like a very hot topic. It gets people really mad. And it's because, one, I'm also a designer. It's very sentimental. So you sit there, you meet with people, you talk about their vision. And for me personally, I like to sketch a lot. And so many times I'm going to sit there with my pencil and my sketch pad and I'm going to, sketch something out. I'm going to think about all the different elements that you brought to my attention that, were very important for your brand. And I'm going to find different ways to incorporate that into the design. And so I'm putting hours, my mind is in it, my heart is in it, my pencil, my everything is in it. And then I create this thing for you and I'm hoping that you're going to love it. And hopefully you love it on the first try. And now you're saying that, there's a possibility that you may change it down the line. Obviously that's going to hurt my feelings. But at the end of the day, I have the understanding that I'm creating this for you and for your brand and wherever you plan to take that brand in the future. And so I have to, and it's, I don't know, maybe some of us have to go to therapy for it, but I have to be okay with the fact that, you're just going to do what you need to do for your brand to succeed. And if that means changing something, tweaking it, changing the colors a little bit, I just have to be okay with that, because at least in my contracts, I let you know that whatever design you choose is completely yours, and I'm going to give you all the files for it. I'm relinquishing that onto you. So you take care of it. Don't come to me if something goes wrong unless you're willing to hire me again, but the files are for you. It's for you to do whatever you please because it is your brand, and I respect brand ownership. Another reason why, designers don't give their designs away is because some do, unfortunately, like to hold it over your head. And so that means that, if I have the file, you constantly have to come back to me, and that's a source of income for me, which is great. But in the event that you're working with someone who maybe isn't so great with their customer service and maybe you want to try someone else, you'll be tied to them because they have the source file. And so you don't have the free range to go to this person or go to that person and say, oh, hey, can you create a flyer for me? Can you work on my website? Can you do this? Can you do that? Because you don't have the source file that you need. They use it to get more money out of you. Yes, it's business. That's how some businesses thrive. But at the end of the day, you want to work with a business that operates with integrity. And so, unfortunately, they want to charge you over and over and over, just so that you can get access to the thing that they don't want to give up. And so those are some of the reasons why designers don't give it away. And how does this hinder your brand? It decreases the quality of your design, because if, most times, as I mentioned earlier, designers will give you the PNG, which means that it has a transparent background. So you can put it on anything. And then they'll give you the JPEG, which has a white background. And most times, a lot of these logos are either all black or all white, or they're an ombre or gradient, which means it has several colors in it. I don't know how to better explain that, but I hope you know what a gradient is. And so whatever color form they give you is the color form that you have to just take and run with. And so when you're stuck with these particular colors, it doesn't give room for you to have a wide range of design. And so the issue with that is when it comes to creating things for you, for example, I've had to create, templates for people. And if they only had, a completely black logo, I could only put it on backgrounds that were a lighter contrast, because if it's darker, obviously you're not going to see the black color. And so it limits the design, and it limits the types of campaigns that you can do. Because, for example, a lot of things that companies like to do is show their inclusivity. And so let's say the American American Heart Association. I'm sorry. There's different ones and I'm mixing them up, but the Heart Association, if they're having a campaign and, you want to change your logo to red to show solidarity or to bring awareness, or in October, it's, domestic violence awareness, and it's also infant and pregnancy loss awareness. So if you want to do the purple or want to do an ombre of blue and pink to show solidarity for these organizations and these causes, you're not able to do that because you only have one version of your logo, which may be all black or all white or in your original colors, which is fine, but it limits you in what you're able to do in terms of campaigns and just showing yourself off as a brand. And so you don't want to be stuck in a situation like that. And so I recommend that you ask for the source files all the time. How else does it hinder you? You can only make your logo so big before it's pixelated. And so what I like to do, which I'll talk about later, is to give my clients various sizes that they can choose from, because one size does not fit all, especially when it's in JPEG or PNG. The size that it's in is the size that it shows best. Or let's say I give you a 600 pixel file. It'll work best when it's in that exact size. If you stretch it up too much, it's going to start showing the squares, the pixelation, and that does not make for a great design. And that makes you look unprofessional because people will see that you did not invest properly in the right means for your brand's visuals and your brand assets. And so that hinders your brand. And as I mentioned earlier, if your brand evolves and you're not able to make those changes, what you risk is the possibility of having to start all over and actually hire a designer that will give you those tools, or you just have to stay stuck with what you have and just always work around the logo versus the logo working around what the business is doing. Because let me remind you that the logo is just one small portion of branding. Branding is a wide spectrum. It's how your audience feels. You know, it's the values that you hold. It's where you place yourself in their minds. It's a whole bunch of different things. And so if your brand is focused on just your logo, you're not doing very much. And so you never want your business to shrink just because of the type of logo that you have. Some horror stories. So I've worked with, a plethora of, business owners, and many times, they don't have the source file. And in one particular situation, the designer had left the country, could not contact them. And so, I was limited in what I could do. I could only create designs where the logo, which was all black, could be completely seen. And so I couldn't really do any type of inversions where, have the white on top of something darker. It was a lot tougher for me to create for this brand. And so I think it's important that you think about that when you're, looking for a designer and thinking of your brand assets. You want to make sure that you have the flexibility and the range to really go above and beyond and put your brand on the map. Another situation, which is very common, is that, like I mentioned, you only have one size of your logo. And so when it's stretched, it starts to pixelate. And in this situation, I asked the client to go back to the designer and ask for, something bigger or the source file. And because it was something that they received on Fiverr, they were not able to get that. I know some Fiverr designers do offer you the source file. If that's the route that you have to go based on your budget, just make sure you ask for the source file. At the end of the day, you can make changes if you have the source file rather than starting from scratch. But the point of this video is just to emphasize how important it is for you to have the source files of whatever branding asset you have. Now let's talk about some things to ask your graphic designer before you hire them. Don't wait till you've hired them and you pay them the deposit and you've done this or even made the full payment. Before you get started with them, make sure you ask them about ownership. Who owns the logo once you've completed it? And say this to your designer or potential designer because you have not hired them yet. So say, who owns the design once it's complete? Do I have full ownership or do you partially own it? How does that work? And then say, whether you noticed it on their website or not, I'm not sure, but do you offer the source file? And that will be a .ai, which means they use Adobe Illustrator, which is most likely the tool that they will use in this sense. And so ask them for the .ai file, and ask them if that's something that they offer. And if they don't, ask them if it's something that they will offer if you pay for it. A lot of times, I already explained why designers don't want to give it up. So, sometimes money will be a motivator for them, and they may say, okay, well, if you pay me this, I'll give you the file. If it's something that you feel is reasonable and works with your, with your business, go ahead and do that. If not, find someone who already has that in their packaging. And you're better off working with that person because for all the reasons that I listed, within these couple of minutes, you absolutely want to have the source file. And so ask them those 2 questions. Well, I guess they were kind of 3 questions, but if they don't offer it, ask them if they will offer it if you pay for it. And if they give you that option, you can either, use your judgment here, see what type of business owner they are, how they run their business first, because you do want to make sure that your money is going to the right company, the right person, to execute whatever vision that you have. And so with that said, my name is Cynthia. I work here at Gyidi Design Firm as the brand strategist and web designer. And here at Gyidi, we create thriving brands that stand the test of time based on strategy, because we want your brands to last and we want you to have clarity. It's very important to us that you're not constantly rebranding, that you really understand where your brand is and where your brand is going. And so if you want to start with us, I would love to work with you. I would love to start off with our brand strategy workshop, because this workshop, we're going to talk about your brand core, your brand positioning, and your brand persona. We're literally building or rebuilding your brand so that you could understand each component and then move forward with strategy on how to address your audience and get those, those numbers in, and, make your profit and live a life that you can actually enjoy. So I did mention at the beginning of this video that you do not have to hire me, but if you do, I would absolutely love to work with you. So like I said, even if you don't hire me, I absolutely want you to know that you deserve complete brand ownership. Have a great day.